You are now listening to Couch Coach Live.
So we're here on Couch Coach Live presents Sunday Sit Down. I have a great guest this week on the Sunday Sit Down, one of the rising stars of the broadcasting game, my man Sravan. What's going on, Sravan?
Going on? How you doing?
I'm doing well, and of course, Sravan, he's doing his thing. One of the busiest guys in showbiz. Of course, he's with Sports Speaks, and also is a writer for the Last Word of NFL. So, and of course, and that's and last but not least, you were on target to graduate in May from the Virginia University, the Virginia Commonwealth University. So let's talk about that. As far as, because with everything that's going on now with the coronavirus and what have you, just everything that's going on from the sports aspect as well as with school.
Cool. So, with COVID obviously took away graduation, and for many of us in the mass comm field, it was definitely it was a crushing blow because we've been working a lot the last 4 years, and all my classmates, all my compadres, we all just it just hurt us. It definitely hurt us, but at the end of the day, the health's more important, and still get my diploma regardless. So, and in terms of sports, they're still showing stuff on TV. We got obviously the Last Dance coming out tonight, the NFL draft on Thursday. So it's not a total loss, but at the end of the day, it's definitely a major setback, but it's not going to stop the future dream from coming true.
Absolutely, and you're definitely right about that. And we you just mentioned about being a mass comm major at VCU. Just tell us about the VCU experience, just in general, like the highs, the lows, and just your whole overall experience at VCU.
Well, in general, if you look at VCU, everyone remembers them for the Final Four experience in the basketball world, and them making ESPN look bad because ESPN was picking against them constantly. But it kind of symbolized me in general because people thought I wasn't going to be that big of a guy. So when I came to VCU, I really just found myself there. And at the end of the day, for 4 years there were a lot of highs, of course, meeting some new people. Just going through class, just doing my job, and ultimately establishing my brand at Sports Speaks, which is a brand that I created with a couple of guys. We cover sports primarily in the Boston area, where most of us are fans. And then being on VCU Insight with just being like a reporter in general, which is kind of what I wanted to do for pretty much all my life. And that was pretty much the high. Low would probably be at night sometimes. It'd be a little bit different than where I grew up from in Northern Virginia, but overall it was a positive experience.
Nice, and definitely a huge shout out to Jay Billis who dissed the Rams back 9 years ago. That was that was a great shout out. That. So man, that's yes. Let's get into it, man. We are about 4 days away from the NFL draft, man. Just your thoughts on this year's draft as far as it being a virtual draft where there won't be any fans. They won't be, heard in the streets of Las Vegas. And, there won't be draftees going, being at the actual draft itself. Just the whole thoughts of it actually being a virtual draft.
I just think that right now it's already been like a virtual kind of thing. We're all watching on TV. You just won't have the, the Fountain of the Bellagio and the watercolors going off and the boats traveling. But that's not going to be there, obviously. But they do plan to get it to Vegas at some point, and kudos to the NFL for that. But it doesn't really bother me because at the end of the day, as a sports writer, you just got to know who's going there, and you got to formulate your opinions. And then you call things like you see it. You just can't expect all the glitz and glamour all the time. Sometimes it's the cold, hard business. This is a disease. It's affecting everybody. Just focus on the job. And for all those people out there who are going out there and complaining about whether the draft should be postponed or not, excuse me, you've had all this time to create your draft board, and you're being petty about it. I'm not falling for, to quote Spike Lee, I'm not falling for the okie doke. Just put the stuff out there, get the job done, and, enough of the excuses. Some teams already have a bad draft record even without this thing going virtual. So use this time to be safe and take care of yourself, but also make a proper decision. There's no excuse for this. There are teams out there, clearly, they found a way to do it no matter what. So kudos to them. If you got to adjust your strategy, just go ahead and do it. We're in the 21st century, man. Just focus on your job and get it done.
I totally agree on that one, most definitely. No excuses. And speaking of, and this is an interesting point now to go back to this one where, so which team do you think will trade up, will be desperate enough to trade up and get one of these quarterbacks?
Tough decision there. I really don't know. I mean, I've been hearing, before this month began, everyone was saying how Miami would possibly trade up for Burrow, but we know Cincinnati's not going to do that. And no disrespect to the Bengals, but no matter what, drafting a quarterback, I mean, it's not been their forte. I can remember the time where it was in the 1990s where, you know how Joe Burrow was obviously dominant in college football in a pass-heavy system. Those memories bring up David Klingler from the University of Houston, and, everyone knows how that turned out. And I'm not saying Burrow is Klingler in any way, shape, or form, but at the end of the day, you got to go to a system where they're willing to work with you and put the talent around you. Cincinnati, with Burrow, it's not gonna be an easy ride. He may say he's a winner in all places, and I believe it, but that's a town that's desperate for a championship. I mean, they've been to the bowl twice, and some guy named Montana took it to them. But in terms of trading up to draft a quarterback, I have to say Miami might be the best option because they've got the capital to do so. I don't see the Chargers moving up any way, shape, or form unless they give the Lions a blockbuster package similar to what the Chargers gave the Cardinals to Ryan Leaf. And we know how that turned out. I mean, that was an epic disaster on epic proportions. So if you're going to ask me for a team that might trade up for one, I'm going to go with the Dolphins. They got the capital resources to do it.
Nice. Yeah, and that's going to be very interesting with that too, where you look at where, especially how the quarterbacks are being slotted now. You're looking at a guy like a Herbert is starting out. All of a sudden is starting to creep up, which that's very interesting how that's going to play out. And with that, so which player do you see having the biggest impact on their team next season?
I would have to say Chase Young. And the reason I say this is because right now the projections are saying he's going to the hometown, Washington Redskins, coming from DeNapa Catholic. And, last time I can recall a pass rusher going number 2 overall, everybody remembers Von Miller, Texas A&M. Now, I'm not comparing Chase to Von in any way, but when you say the impact's going to happen, the Redskins defense does need a guy to go get home. I mean, they've got a great front three with John Allen, Deron Payne, Matt Ioannidis. You got some decent linebackers and some pretty good players, but Ron Rivera, the one thing he needs in this team, he needs a guy who can go get home. If I'm not mistaken, it was Thomas Davis and Luke Kuechly back in the year when they went to the Super Bowl, albeit to lose to, ironically, Von Miller and the Broncos. But the Redskins are going to need a guy like that because with Dwayne Haskins on a rookie contract, you've got to put the best pieces around him in order to succeed. You've got your offensive weapons with Harmon and Terry McLaurin who can make some things happen. And you have Darius Geist in the backfield. First of all, you got to get that pass rusher, and then in the next rounds, you got to find a left tackle because Trent Williams is going and gone. It's not going to work. The recipe for a championship is a quarterback, a left tackle, or a right tackle, depending on the hand, and a guy can go get the other team's quarterback. So I would say Chase Young's got the best impact.
Nice. Of course, as a Redskin fan, that's like music to my ears. So definitely a huge shout out for that one. Let's see. Now, what team do you think needs to have a successful draft? Like one particular team that looks they need to nail this draft. Who do you see that team is? You got to be the New England Patriots.
You got to be the New England Patriots. You got all these old, and I'll be honest with you, these guys, kudos to them with 6 rings. I don't even want to hear about the scandals because clearly that was ESPN going to open their mouth and try to get some sort of attention out there. I ain't going to mention who, or FS1. I ain't going to mention certain names here, but, the GOAT's gone. And Gronk's gone, and everybody's getting old up there. You got to be able to hit on this draft because if rumors are true that they're trying to go for the quarterback next year, because they don't get one this year, Billy B's got to do what he's got to do in order to get the best players possible. Projectors are saying Kenneth Murray from Oklahoma, and I think that would be a great start. But at the same time, they got to nail this one. If they want to continue their dominance, because the Bills are coming, Miami certainly got the resources. Jets, no disrespect, I ain't going to count them into this equation because they're just the Jets. So.
Hey man, the Jets almost they were somewhat in the picture last year. You think about if Sam Darnold didn't get the mono, they could have took a little bit things down.
That's the typical Jets thing, though. Like what old Stephen A. says about the Knicks. What can go wrong will go wrong, and it just happens. Now, granted, the Knicks are worse than the Jets in any way, but still.
Absolutely. So, who is the most overrated player in this year's draft?
Tua Tagovailoa. I'm sorry. I'm gonna call that like I see it because once again, when I work with Last Word on Sports in the NFL section, and we all agree, Tua, ESPN's been overhyping this dude because he went to Alabama. And I'm telling you, there's just so much bias toward the Alabama Crimson Tide. No disrespect to them, they got good players, but remember when Deshaun Watson beat them, there was definitely some disappointment. Once Tua threw that touchdown to beat Georgia, the networks just completely blew off the charts. And then when Trevor Lawrence came back and crushed them the way that he did, you couldn't hear a peep. Like, they were so disappointed because Tua just got smashed by Clelin Ferrell, Albert Huggins, Dexter Lawrence, Christian Wilkins, and Austin Bryant, a.k.a. I think that they call themselves the Power Rangers. And then you got Trey Lamar, Trayvon Mullen, Tanner Houston, Kevon Wallace out there balling like superstars so that they can play. And then as a result, Alabama just couldn't handle it. This past year, Joe Burrow knocks them out in the first meeting that they get. Everyone's still begging for Bama to take a playoff spot, Then Auburn beats them. That's officially it. There's no Bama, so the quote-unquote Alabama Invitational that was the college football playoff doesn't even have the home team in there. It's four teams that never have there's never been this particular matchup. So, Tua, I think, is a good player, but his hip injury clearly is serious. You don't want to have those kind of injuries. Roosevelt Colvin suffered it from the Patriots back in the day. He was still a good player, but never was the high-priced guy that was given the contract. Now you look at Tua, quarterback is the most important position because if you're investing in that, that's a rookie contract of about 4 to possibly 5 years or even longer. So if you want to get this right, you have to make sure you've done your full work on him.
Well, I totally agree with that one. Tua, Tua is one of those where it's really the hype machine is there, and people were thinking about he should be the number one pick, and I'm like, not coming off a hip injury like that. That's just that's. So who do you think is the best player in this year's draft?
The best player? That would be a tough one, but if I'm going to put money on somebody, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of – I'm going to have to say Isaiah Simmons of Clemson. I think he might be the best overall prospect. Guy fits the Mocker scheme with his ability to run sideline to sideline, can drop back into coverage, and Coach Brent Venables in Clemson, he knows how to find linebackers. Now, granted, probably his best player that he's had there, Ben Boulware, was undersized and didn't go drafted, but Isaiah Simmons fits the measurables with his size and speed. Plus, he's a modern-day guy, like a Roquan Smith. I mean, not as short as Roquan is, 6'1" to 6'3" or 6'4", depending. But I just think that if he gets in the right system, he will dominate. People are saying the Giants at 4, possibly going to the Cardinals, or, you never know. Some team could somehow trade up to snag him, and the Giants, I mean, you got Dave Gettleman, he says one thing and he turns around and does the complete other. We saw what happened with Daniel Jones, and MetLife Stadium almost blew a casket because of that pick.
Yeah. So now I want to focus the attention a little bit more to a little local as far as, here in the Richmond, Virginia area. So one of the questions I really one of the biggest questions I think came in the draft in the last the last 48 hours. It's just the news of Mekhi Becton, of course, with the situation with the failed drug test during the combat. So with the latest news on Mekhi Becton, how low do you think his draft stock will drop?
I've seen Mekhi Becton play at Highland Springs, actually. It was my senior year. Our school, Westville, was playing against Oscar Smith in the Division 6 state championship. And before us, the Highland Springs was playing against Stonebridge, one of our local rivals at the time. So I saw Mekhi Becton play. I saw, Kevon Wallace and Javon Carter and Greg Dorsch. And I think Mekhi Becton, while he definitely fits the size-wise, he used to bully these smaller guys with ease. But come to Louisville, there were guys sometimes who were much bigger than him or much faster, and they just dominated him off the line. And you add that with his drug test that you see right now, and everyone wants to go back to Laramie Tunsil smoking the weed. I mean, like Stephen A. Smith would say, stay off the weed. But in this case, with Mekhi Becton, I don't see him falling too far because the offensive tackles right now, there's a premium on them. You got Wills, you got Becton, you got Andrew Thomas, you have Tristan Wirfs. Those guys are definitely going to go up there. Maybe Becton could fall to the middle of the first round or possibly near the bottom, but I just don't see him dropping out the first round. He's just too talented, and he has no issues with drugs up until this. There's not been a single issue there. So I don't see him falling too far. Yeah.
And, and it's funny because most people are projecting him as a top 10. And then you look in there, I think even if he drops to 14 at Tampa Bay, I think that would be perfect for him in this situation. I don't think he can go no further than 14.
Can definitely work with him.
Yeah. But, my thing is I want him to go to Cleveland. For some odd reason, I want him to go to Cleveland. I know for some odd reason, I want to lump him in Cleveland.
There's not much good stuff going on in Cleveland.
Yeah. Hey man, he's gonna be the next Joe Thomas. He could be the next Joe Thomas in Cleveland. He'd be the man down there.
That's a lot to live up to. That's a lot to live up to, considering what Joe Thomas ultimately was.
Absolutely. And we mentioned in the beginning of the podcast that you're a writer for the Last Word on Football, and I've seen the website. I've seen some scouting reports. Excellent write-ups. Two write-ups that I've seen as far as scouting report that you did. You did a fantastic job. Kudos on that. Another former Highland Springs standout, Kevon Wallace. Your thoughts on Kevon and where you think he can ultimately land at?
I like the guy, football instincts, and as a safety, you've got to be able to recognize the play and be able to call it through the last line defense. And the fact that he was very, I would say, versatile. You had him play wide receiver with Javon Carter and Greg Dorsch back in the day. Now he's the captain, the safety guy because, you got Tanner Muse back there as your teammate. The dude was playing more like a linebacker than he was a safety. He got beat so often. I was wondering what's Kevon Wallace got to do in order to stop that stuff. So I just think that, even though he was overshadowed by the front line of Clemson, which has been known to produce some front linemen back in their entire time, I think the dude's possibly, I gave him a pretty low scouting report, but after checking out more tape, I would say he should be at least an early fourth-round pick because safeties are very critical in this day and age with the passing game.
Nice. Let's take a shot in the dark. What team? Because I know you did also on the scouting report. You did see in this state the good fits as far as what teams he'd be a good fit for. Let's throw a shot in the dark.
So really, based on what I would had written, I would say his best team. If I really look at it, I think Chicago could take him. I just think that with Eddie Jackson there, you got to have somebody back there making plays, and versatility has always been a stalwart in Chicago with their great two-way players in their history. So I think the Bears will probably get the guy, and because he can tackle he can play like a box safety, he can play the run, he can play the pass, and I would not be surprised to see him don the orange and the blue. He's already donned purple and orange. Change that purple to blue, and he'll be fine.
Nice. The Bears. Nice. And then another prospect that you profiled on the Last Word on NFL is Darrell Taylor, University of Tennessee, by way of Hopewell High School. Your thoughts on Darrell?
So when I wrote the story, everybody talks about Virginia, when you say linebacker Taylor, who comes to mind? Lawrence Taylor. And to Darrell's credit, he's from Virginia, like Lawrence. But he didn't play in North Carolina. Ain't nobody in this NFL is going to compare to what Lawrence Taylor was. That dude was a one-man wrecking crew. There's a story about Lawrence Taylor where he boarded the bus and Bill Parcells said, "Bus driver, let's go. We got enough to win." In this case, Darrell Taylor does not fit that profile. Now, granted, he went to Tennessee, like you said, same school as Reggie White, and everyone knows Derek Barnett. The Philadelphia Eagles are certainly grateful for that guy getting that fumble. But I think Darrell Taylor, he's one of those guys like an Andre Bruce who, from the Falcons back in the day, where he looks the part like a really intimidating edge rusher. He'll have that one or two games in college where you go, whoa, where did this dude come from? But the consistency was unfortunately not there. But he did play pretty well. 19.5 sacks in his career. But like I mentioned in my story, he wasn't really into the run as he was much in the pass, and he was slow off the ball a couple of times. And that's just that's not going to work. You got offensive linemen with speed right now, even though back in the day it was just all about the hog and the brutal strength. Those guys have some wheels right now as an offensive lineman. So if you're a defensive lineman, you've got to be able to jump off the ball fast. And he had struggled at times with that.
And let's take another shot in the dark. What do you think he's going to land and what team? Because I know also on the actual report as well, you do list good team fits for him as well.
I'm going to go with the Patriots in this particular situation because Bill Belichick likes versatile guys. He's played 4-3, 3-4. I think that with an edge rusher loss of Kyle Van Noy, he's going to definitely be one of the guys that they got to look at him and they got to see exactly what they have in him. The dude is physically built for the league and he can handle himself, but given the proper coaching, I think he can definitely be molded into a star. And you can't really have too many good pass rushers in this league. It's a passing league right now. It's no longer the ground and pound, the T formations and the wing T's and what all. It's legitimately spread offense, more of a throw the ball all over the place, and he mixed in a few runs with the pass and options and all that. So I think New England with Bill Belichick's coaching system, I think Darrell Taylor could definitely be a star there.
Nice. The Patriots got a nice ring to it. So, Sravan, where can they find you on social media?
So these guys can follow me on Sravan G News. That's SravanGnews. You can also, the brand that I work with, Sports Speaks, you can follow them at sports_speaks. Look for the icon that says New England, the Celtics, the Red Sox, and the Bruins. It's got the name on it and has 6 stars. It represents the 6 guys that I'm with. I'm one of the 6 people that work with that group.
Nice. And man, remember the name. I'm saying from the beginning, this is a rising star in the game, man. Definitely huge thank you, Sravan, for taking time out of your Sunday to talk about the NFL draft, getting us hype and getting us ready. And definitely great work on the last word of the NFL. Great work. You guys want to check out that website? That was, man, you broke it down very well, and I loved those analysis of those players. And there's tons of those other players, other prospects as well. Definitely check out that website, man. And thank you so much for coming on to the Couch Coach Live Sunday Sit Down, man. And thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. I want to give a shout out to all my MassCom compadres, all of them there, those who graduated and those still there. You guys are the best, and thanks a lot for having me.
All right, man. This has been the Couch Coach Live Sunday Sit Down. Thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you guys later.